Welcome. Hi guys, it's Oliver Sherman and welcome back to another alternate history video on YouTube. Today's scenario will be what if World War II never happened. Now, if there are any of you out there who are familiar with my what if scenario of this exact topic on my first channel, called Oliver Sherman, not Oliver Sherman 2, then you'll probably be wondering why I am uploading this again. Well, if you struggle to find sites and channels like I do, or you just you can't be bothered to go through the trouble of finding something new to watch, then I am re-uploading this video again for those of you that I just mentioned. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the scenario. It's September 1st, 1939. Germany has invaded Poland from the west. The Polish armed forces are caught completely off guard and are not prepared to defend against the Wehrmacht. A couple days later, on September 3rd, Britain and France declare war on Germany. A few days after that, the Soviet Union also invades Poland from the east as part of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Germany, the non-aggression pact which was to last 10 years. But what if, in an alternate scenario, this never happened? Say on September 3rd, after Germany invaded, Britain and France do not declare war on Germany and just let the scenario play out. Let's say it's an alternate September 1939. Germany and the Soviet Union have carved up Poland between themselves. Britain and France are watching on the sidelines as they've mobilised their militaries as a defence against a possible German attack, but have not yet declared war. Let's say this goes on until the next year, into 1940. Germany and the Soviet Union are still at peace, but it is an uneasy peace that will not last. As fascism and communism are two completely different ideologies that would never cooperate together, they are simply too different and too hostile with each other to exist together. So a conflict between Germany and the Soviet Union is inevitable, and almost everyone knows it. It's just a matter of where and when the conflict will take place. Meanwhile, in the Far East, Japan has invaded China back in 1937 and annexed all of Manchuria and Korea. The Chinese hold out bravely, but are ultimately defeated and annexed. However, a small number of guerrilla fighters hang out in the wilderness of China and strike at Japanese patrols and small outposts regularly as payback for their invasion. Japan also makes plans to attack the US and the UK and their colonies in the Pacific. Let's say an Pearl Harbor scenario is still likely in this scenario, although whether it will take place in the same year and the same time as in our timeline is unknown. Now it's June 1941. Germany is finally ready to take on the Soviet Union, although it does not want to look like the aggressor in case the West will retaliate and declare war. So instead, Germany invites a Soviet diplomat over to the Reichstag. The German politicians in the Reichstag begin a heated argument with the politician, which annoys the Soviet politician and sends him back to Moscow, complaining towards the Soviet Politburo and Stalin about the German behaviour. Meanwhile, back in Germany, German propaganda papers depict the event as the Soviet diplomat kicking off the entire event and starting the argument, annoying the German politicians. This gets Germans angry towards the Soviet government, who then demand an apology from Stalin about the politicians' behaviour. Stalin then demands the same thing towards Germany, as their politicians had annoyed the Soviet politician. This argument and bickering goes on for a while until finally the Soviets have had enough and declare war on Germany. This is exactly what the Germans had planned, to annoy the Soviets into declaring war on them so that they wouldn't look like the aggressors to the rest of the outside world. With the West now sure not to declare war anytime soon, the Germans invade the Soviet Union. An alternate Operation Barbarossa takes place in late June 1941. Although now that, because in this alternate scenario, the attack is not a surprise attack, as the Soviets already declared war and were expecting an invasion, they're not as surprised and outnumbered as they were in our scenario. So in this alternate scenario, rather than being taken completely off guard, the Soviets actually have strong defences and have prepared their soldiers to defend to the very last man. This creates an alternate stalemate on the Eastern Front. The Germans failed to take their objectives, and trench-like warfare begins to see action on the Eastern Front. Germany asks for help from its ally Japan, but they refuse to take part in an invasion as they have other plans to attack the US and the UK's colonies. Benito Mussolini and his fascist government in Italy gladly volunteer to step up and help with their allies in Germany, as they had joined the Axis powers on their side. But their military is poor and not prepared for a war on this scale. They send their troops over to the Eastern Front and are wiped out almost immediately by Soviet defences. The Romanians also offer to help, but are similarly wiped out, as their military is also not the greatest in the world, let's just say. Both the Italians and the Romanians have a weak military and are forced to retreat from the Eastern Front. It's now 1942. The stalemate on the Eastern Front is finally broken by a Soviet counterattack. The newest Soviet T-34s and other heavy tanks that have just come off the production line way before the Tigers or Panthers on the German side are able to break the stalemate and push back into Polish territory. By 1943, almost all of Poland is liberated, and the Soviets are now on the gates of Berlin. 1944. It's an alternate Battle of Berlin. Hitler is evacuated to Austria, where it is planned that he'll live out the rest of his life in relative quiet and away from the public. But Soviet secret police have found out about this plan. They send an assassin over to Austria to Hitler's country home in the Alps. The Soviet assassins take sniper positions outside of Hitler's home, where they shoot the German dictator dead as soon as he exits his car. Hitler has been assassinated by the Soviet secret police, and the Battle of Berlin is lost for Germany. The German-Soviet War, as it is to become known, is won by the Soviet Union, and the Germans are forced to give up all their land to the communists. There is no East and West Germany. There is only communist Germany as part of the Soviet Comintern. The Western Allies are forced into an uneasy peace with the Soviet Union, and an alternate Cold War scenario plays out. The Imperial Japanese government dissolves its empire as it fears an invasion from the Soviet Union is imminent, and it wants to gain a peaceful neutral status so that the Soviet Union will not be bothered to invade. An alternate Cold War scenario now plays out as each side of the world, East and West, try to develop the world's first nuclear weapon. When the first nuke would be developed and where and who would make it to it first is unknown. Whether the US would, like in our timeline, or the USSR is unknown. But that goes way beyond the scope of this video. I hope you enjoyed this what-if scenario of what if World War II never happened, or at least never happened in the way that we know it today. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.